Living alone in your later years can be one of the most fulfilling and liberating experiences of your life. It is a time of self-discovery, peace, and personal growth. While the thought of being on your own might seem overwhelming at first, many who have embraced this stage speak of the profound benefits it brings. The opportunity to shape your days on your own terms, free from compromise, allows you to truly connect with yourself in ways that may not have been possible before. One of the most rewarding aspects of living alone is the chance to rediscover who you are beyond the roles you have played throughout your life. Whether as a spouse, parent, or caregiver, much of life has been spent prioritizing others. Now, for perhaps the first time in decades, you have the space to focus on your own interests, passions, and desires, without the need for validation or approval. Sarah, at the age of 67, found herself living alone after her children moved out and her husband passed away. At first, the silence of her home felt overwhelming, almost as if something was missing. But over time, she began to see it differently. The quiet became an invitation, a space where she could finally hear her own thoughts and follow her own rhythm. She realized that she had always loved painting, though life's responsibilities had kept her from truly pursuing it. With her newfound solitude, Sarah decided to transform a spare room into an art studio. At first she hesitated, unsure if she still had the skill or patience for it. But as she picked up the brush and let the colors flow onto the canvas, she felt something awaken inside her. Each day she spent hours painting, losing herself in the process. Creating for no one but herself, I felt like I was meeting myself for the first time in decades, she reflected. It's as if I'm reconnecting with the person I was before life took over. This experience is not unique to Sarah. Many people find that living alone allows them to reconnect with long-forgotten passions, whether it be painting, writing, music, or gardening. The joy of doing something purely for yourself, without external expectations, is immeasurable. There is a deep satisfaction in rediscovering what truly brings you happiness. Beyond hobbies, living alone provides the space to reflect on life choices, evaluate personal growth, and even explore entirely new interests. It allows for a deeper understanding of oneself, free from outside influence. Some find comfort in journaling, documenting their thoughts and emotions in a way they never had before. Others take up new activities, such as learning a language, joining a local club, or traveling alone for the first time. There is also an undeniable sense of independence that comes with this journey. Without anyone else dictating the flow of the day, there is complete freedom to create a schedule that aligns with personal preferences. Whether it means waking up at sunrise to enjoy the stillness of the morning, or staying up late reading a book without interruption, the choice is entirely yours. The ability to shape your space to reflect your personality is another powerful aspect of living alone. Sarah found immense joy in redesigning her home to suit her artistic lifestyle. She surrounded herself with bright colors, plants, and artwork that inspired her. Many others experience a similar sense of renewal by making their living space truly their own, whether through decorating, organizing, or even downsizing to a simpler, more manageable environment. What Sarah's story highlights is that living alone does not mean living in isolation. It is an opportunity to cultivate a relationship with yourself, to explore your interests, and to create a life that feels authentic and fulfilling. It is a chapter filled with possibility, one where solitude becomes a source of strength rather than loneliness. For those stepping into this stage, the key is to approach it with an open heart and mind. At first, it may feel unfamiliar or even daunting, but with time, the rewards become clear. There is freedom in being able to rediscover who you are, to embrace what brings you joy, and to shape each day according to your own desires. This is a time for self-exploration, a time to truly understand what it means to live for yourself, and a time to celebrate the life you have built. Living alone offers a deep sense of independence that is both liberating and fulfilling. Every decision is entirely your own, from how you structure your day to what meals you prepare or whether you even cook at all. There is a quiet joy in these choices, a simplicity that allows for complete autonomy. Without the need to accommodate another person's schedule or preferences, you have the freedom to shape your environment exactly as you like. John, at 73, decided to move into a smaller, more manageable home after his wife passed away. The decision was his alone, and he found great satisfaction in choosing a place that suited his lifestyle. Without having to consider anyone else's opinions, he was able to select a home that truly reflected his needs. "I didn't have to think about what someone else wanted, just what worked best for me," he explained. It was incredibly freeing. Since moving, John has devoted much of his time to gardening, something his wife had never been particularly interested in. He spends hours outside, tending to his plants, embracing the solitude of his outdoor space. The beauty of this independence is that there is no need to explain or justify how he spends his time. There is no pressure to balance his hobbies with someone else's interests, no obligation to adjust his schedule for another person's needs. "It's my time, my space, and my choice," he says with a quiet smile, appreciating the ability to fully immerse himself in something he loves. This sense of independence extends beyond physical space. It also provides emotional and mental freedom. Without external expectations, you can create a daily routine that aligns with your own rhythm. If you prefer to wake up early and take a morning walk, there is no one to disrupt that plan. If you decide to stay up late watching movies or reading, there is no need to worry about disturbing someone else. You are free to eat whatever meals suit your tastes, decorate your home in a way that makes you happy, and embrace the lifestyle that feels most natural to you. Every decision, big or small, is entirely your own, and there is an undeniable sense of empowerment in that. As we age, peace and quiet become more than just luxuries, they become necessities. Living alone allows you to curate your surroundings to be as calm and serene as you wish. There are no external noises to disrupt your space, no distractions unless they are ones you have chosen to welcome. The ability to control your environment means that you can decide when to engage with the outside world and when to retreat into the sanctuary of solitude. Maria, at 70, found herself deeply appreciating the silence of her home after decades of raising children and sharing her space with a partner. The stillness that once felt unfamiliar quickly became one of the most cherished aspects of her daily life. She describes her mornings as her favorite part of the day. "I wake up to the sound of birds, not an alarm clock or someone else's schedule," she says. "I can sit in my favorite chair, sip my coffee, and just enjoy the stillness. It's a kind of peace I never realized I needed." For Maria, this quiet time is more than just a break from external noise. It is an opportunity to reflect, recharge, and start her day with intention. Without the constant presence of another person's routine overlapping with hers, she has the space to engage in morning rituals that bring her a sense of calm. She often spends this time meditating, journaling, or simply sitting in silence, allowing herself to fully experience the present moment. This ability to control the level of engagement with the world has given her a new appreciation for solitude. While she enjoys seeing friends and family, she has learned to treasure the moments where she can be alone with her thoughts. She believes this time for personal reflection is vital to her overall well-being, providing clarity and balance in a way she never experienced before. There is something deeply restorative about having the power to choose how much interaction you have with others and when. Whether it is deciding to spend an afternoon immersed in a book without interruption or taking an evening walk through a quiet neighborhood, the freedom to control your environment fosters a sense of inner peace. This kind of solitude is not loneliness. Rather, it is a gift, a space to reconnect with oneself and appreciate the quieter, more meaningful aspects of life. For many, the absence of constant background noises allows them to be more present in their daily experiences. Small moments, like the sound of rain against the window, the warmth of the sun in the early morning, or the soft hum of a favorite song playing in the background, become more profound. Without external demands, these details become more noticeable, offering a new sense of appreciation for the world in its simplest form. Maria, much like John, has found that living alone has given her a greater understanding of herself and what truly brings her happiness. The quiet, which once felt unsettling, has become a source of comfort. Instead of seeing silence as an absence of something, she now views it as a presence, an opportunity to listen to her own thoughts, to embrace the rhythm of her own life, and to find fulfillment in the peaceful moments she once overlooked. This balance between freedom and solitude is what makes living alone such a unique and deeply personal experience. The ability to fully control one's environment and daily routine fosters a sense of independence that is both practical and emotional. For many, it is a time to rediscover themselves, to embrace the peace that comes with having their own space, and to live life exactly as they choose. Living alone grants you full control over your space, allowing your home to become a true sanctuary. You decide how it looks, how it feels, and how it functions, shaping it to reflect your preferences without compromise. This may seem like a minor detail, but it holds incredible power. A home should be a place of comfort, a space that mirrors your personality and caters to your needs without the influence of another person's opinions or routines. Tom, at 68, made the decision to downsize after his wife passed away. He moved into a smaller, more manageable apartment where, for the first time, he could decorate entirely based on his own taste. He had always admired minimalist design, drawn to simplicity, clean lines, and natural light, but had never been able to fully embrace that aesthetic when sharing his home. Now, every corner of his apartment is curated to his liking, free of unnecessary clutter. "I always wanted a minimalist space, but that wasn't possible before," he explained. "Now, everything around me is here because I love it, not because it was part of a compromise." His apartment is no longer just a living space. It is a personal retreat, a place that provides comfort and clarity. Having control over his environment has given him a new sense of peace, reinforcing the idea that a home should be a reflection of the person who lives in it. Whether it is a carefully curated minimalist retreat like Tom's, or a home bursting with color, art, and cherished mementos, living alone offers the freedom to create a space that is uniquely yours. Beyond shaping your physical surroundings, living alone also fosters a deeper relationship with yourself. Solitude provides the opportunity for introspection, self-discovery, and emotional growth. When external distractions fade away, there is space to listen to your own thoughts, process life's experiences, and truly connect with yourself on a deeper level. Many older adults describe this period as a time of profound personal understanding, where they learn to appreciate their own company and embrace the quiet moments. Gloria, a 74-year-old widow, has been living alone for 5 years. She describes this time in her life as an inward journey, one that has allowed her to reflect, heal, and understand herself in ways she never had before. When her husband passed, she initially felt lost, unsure of how to navigate life without him. The house felt too quiet, and loneliness crept in during the first few months. But as time passed, she began to shift her perspective. Instead of fearing the silence, she started embracing it. Journaling became part of her daily routine. Each morning, she would sit by her window with a cup of tea, writing down her thoughts, memories, and reflections. Through this practice, she found herself reconnecting with emotions she had ignored for years. She processed her grief, revisited joyful moments from her past, and even began setting new personal goals. "When my husband passed, I didn't know what to do with myself," she admitted. "But over time, I started to enjoy my own company. I realized I had spent so many years focusing on others that I had forgotten to nurture my relationship with myself." The solitude allowed her to recognize her own resilience. She started spending time outdoors, taking long walks in the park, observing the seasons change, and feeling a new sense of appreciation for the world around her. She learned to find peace in her own thoughts rather than fearing them. This deeper connection with herself led to an incredible sense of emotional resilience and self-awareness. Like Gloria, many people who live alone discover that solitude is not something to be feared, but rather something to be embraced. It is a chance to step away from external expectations and truly listen to what your heart and mind need. It is a time to acknowledge past experiences, whether joyful or painful, and to find clarity in the present moment. Living alone as an older person is not just about physical space. It is about embracing a way of life that brings freedom, peace, and personal growth. The experiences of Tom, Gloria, and countless others serve as reminders that solitude does not equate to loneliness. Instead, it offers an opportunity to shape life on your own terms, to rediscover passions, and to cultivate a deep and meaningful connection with yourself. Living alone can, somewhat unexpectedly, strengthen your connections with others. Without the constant presence of people in your immediate environment, you begin to appreciate relationships in a deeper and more intentional way. Rather than engaging in interactions out of routine or obligation, you find yourself reaching out to others because you genuinely want to, making those connections more meaningful and fulfilling. Joe, a 72-year-old retiree, experienced this firsthand after moving to a new city following the loss of his wife. Living alone forced him to reevaluate his social life, and instead of retreating into isolation, he made the conscious decision to build new relationships. He reached out to old friends, rekindling connections that had faded over the years. At the same time, he began exploring opportunities within his new community, joining local clubs and hosting small gatherings. I realized that just because I live alone doesn't mean I have to be lonely, he reflected. I started inviting people over for dinner, something I never did before. Now, the friendships I have are more meaningful than ever. Joe's story is a testament to the power of choosing social interactions based on genuine desire rather than necessity. Living alone allows you to cultivate relationships that bring joy and enrichment, rather than maintaining them out of habit or social expectation. There is a special kind of fulfillment in knowing that every interaction is intentional, that the people you spend time with are those whose presence you truly cherish. It is a shift from social obligations to authentic connections, a way of engaging with others that feels natural and deeply rewarding. Beyond strengthening connections with others, living alone provides the space to embrace the joy of solitude. There is a profound sense of peace that comes from being comfortable in your own company, from learning to enjoy the quiet moments without feeling the need to fill them with distractions. This solitude is not loneliness. Rather, it is a time of self-reflection, of slowing down, of finding contentment in the simple act of being. Lily, at 71, discovered this when she found herself living alone for the first time after her husband's passing. At first, the silence in her home felt heavy, an unfamiliar and unwelcome presence. She struggled with the absence of conversation, the lack of movement and noise that had once filled her days. But as time went on, she began to see the solitude not as a burden, but as an opportunity. Back to Sylvia, she started taking long walks through the park, a simple activity that she had never made time for in the past. At first, it was a way to fill the empty hours, but soon it became something she genuinely looked forward to. She would bring a book, find a bench near the lake, and sit quietly, soaking in the world around her. The sound of rustling leaves, the gentle ripples in the water, the feeling of the sun on her skin, these small details, once unnoticed, became sources of comfort. I realized that I didn't need constant company to feel content, she shared. Sitting by the lake, reading, and just being present in the moment became something I treasured. It was a time for me to reflect, to breathe, to find peace in the quiet. Lily's experience serves as a reminder that solitude, when embraced rather than resisted, can be incredibly enriching. It allows you to connect with yourself in ways that are often difficult in the presence of others. It gives you the freedom to move at your own pace, to enjoy life in a way that is entirely your own. The ability to find joy in solitude is one of the greatest gifts of living alone, a realization that contentment is not dependent on external circumstances, but can be cultivated from within. Living alone offers a rare and valuable opportunity for personal growth. Without the distractions of meeting others' expectations or accommodating their needs, you are free to turn inward, reflect on your life, and set new goals. This solitude creates space for self-discovery, allowing you to pursue passions that may have been set aside for years. It is a time of deep introspection, providing clarity about who you are and what you truly want from life. Frank, at 70, found himself embracing this period of reflection when he finally pursued a dream he had carried for decades. After the passing of his wife, he decided to take up writing, something he had always wanted to do but never had the time for. Life got in the way, he admitted, but now, with the quiet and time to myself, I can finally focus on something I love. Writing became more than just a hobby for Frank. It allowed him to process his thoughts, explore his experiences, and even find healing through storytelling. His journey is just one example of how living alone can become a catalyst for significant personal growth. Whether it is developing a new skill, revisiting an old passion, or simply gaining a deeper understanding of yourself, this chapter of life can be remarkably enriching. Beyond personal growth, living alone encourages a lifestyle of simplicity, With no need to accommodate others' preferences or manage a busy household, life becomes more streamlined and intentional. The freedom to live according to your own rhythm allows you to focus on what truly matters, letting go of unnecessary stress and complications. Helen, a 69-year-old retiree, experienced this shift firsthand when she decided to downsize to a smaller apartment after her children moved out. She had spent years accumulating possessions, filling her home with items that once held significance but had long outlived their purpose. "I realized I didn't need all the things I had collected over the years," she reflected. "Living alone gave me the chance to simplify my life, and now I feel lighter, freer." With fewer material distractions, Helen was able to focus her time and energy on what brought her joy: her health, her hobbies, and her relationships. Her experience serves as a reminder that simplicity is not about loss, but about refinement. By removing what is unnecessary, you create space for what is truly fulfilling. Whether it is decluttering physical possessions or letting go of habits that no longer serve you, living alone provides the perfect opportunity to embrace a simpler, more meaningful way of life. At its core, living alone is not just about solitude. It is a path to self-discovery. It is a lifestyle that offers independence, peace, and the freedom to shape your life exactly as you wish. The stories of Sarah, John, Maria, and so many others illustrate that this stage of life is not an ending, but a transformation. It is a time to reconnect with yourself, to build a deeper and more authentic relationship with who you are, and to craft a life that truly reflects your desires. If you are already living alone, take a moment to recognize the beauty of this journey. And if you are considering it, know that you are stepping into an experience that has the potential to bring profound satisfaction and contentment. Living alone is a gift you give to yourself, a gift of independence, self-love, and peace. End of story. Living alone in old age can feel like stepping into a new chapter of life, one that brings both quiet reflection and unique challenges. But more than anything, it is a time that can be empowering and deeply enriching. As someone who has embraced this stage of life, I understand how living alone shapes a person, often in ways that are unexpected. I have come across countless conversations on forums where people share their experiences. Based on those voices, here is how living alone often changes us as we grow older, and how these transformations can add depth and meaning to our lives. One of the most profound things I have observed is how living alone allows individuals to reconnect with themselves. Many people mention how the absence of constant distractions enables them to rediscover who they truly are at their core. Margaret, a 65-year-old woman, shared her story in a discussion thread. After her husband passed away, she moved into a small apartment, uncertain about what the future held. For the first time in years, she had no one to cater to, and no one to share the routines of daily life. At first, she admitted that the silence was overwhelming. The quiet moments that once felt peaceful began to feel heavy, filling the space where conversation and shared experiences used to be. But slowly, she began rediscovering the things she had once loved. Gardening had always brought her joy, but in the rush of family life, she had neglected it. She started small, placing a few pots of herbs on her windowsill. As time passed, her enthusiasm grew, and she found herself adding more plants, eventually transforming her entire balcony into a lush green retreat. Margaret now jokes that she has become the crazy plant lady, but to her, this reconnection with nature has been one of the most fulfilling aspects of living alone. It was not an immediate transformation, but she gradually learned that being alone does not have to mean being lonely. It can be about rediscovering passions and filling time with activities that bring genuine happiness. When she sits down with a cup of tea and looks at her plants, she feels a deep sense of peace, one that had been missing from her life for years. Living alone also requires a sense of structure, leading many to develop new routines and rituals that provide stability and comfort. Without the presence of others dictating the flow of the day, individuals have the freedom to create schedules that cater entirely to their own needs and desires. And many people have shared how they have crafted morning rituals that feel entirely their own, whether it is savoring a cup of tea while watching the sunrise, practicing yoga, or simply sitting in silence to set intentions for the day ahead. John, a retired engineer, shared his experience in an online discussion about how living alone changed his approach to structuring his days. After spending decades waking up at 5 in the morning for work, he finally gave himself permission to sleep in. For the first time in years, he allowed his body to rest without the pressure of an alarm clock. Now, his mornings are slow and deliberate. He takes his time making coffee, sits by the window and reads the newspaper, something he never had time for during his working years. Over time, he created a new tradition. Every afternoon, he takes a 20-minute walk around his neighborhood, appreciating the fresh air and the simple act of moving at his own pace. He mentioned that these new habits gave his days a sense of rhythm and purpose, filling them with meaning in ways he had never anticipated. He once said something that resonated deeply with me. "When you live alone, your time is your own. There is no need to rush for anyone. You have the freedom to build your day exactly as you like, and there is something deeply satisfying about that." Another example comes from Lily, a widow in her early 70s. She too found that structuring her evenings transformed how she experienced solitude. Instead of allowing loneliness to settle in at the end of the day, she developed a ritual that brought her comfort. Each night she draws a warm bath, lights a few candles, and reads a book. What began as a small act of self-care soon became a cherished part of her daily routine. She described how this simple habit turned her nights from moments of isolation into times of deep relaxation and reflection. These small but intentional choices show how living alone does not have to be an experience of loss or emptiness. Instead, it can be a time of rediscovery, a chance to reshape life in a way that prioritizes peace, joy, and personal fulfillment. Living alone encourages self-reliance in ways that are both practical and emotional. Managing every aspect of daily life, from grocery shopping to home maintenance and making health decisions, becomes a personal responsibility. For many, this can feel overwhelming at first, but it also brings an incredible sense of accomplishment. For Arthur, living alone at 68 was an unexpected challenge after his wife passed away. He shared his experience on a popular online forum, describing how he felt lost when faced with everyday tasks, particularly cooking and home upkeep. Throughout his marriage, he had never cooked more than toast and eggs, relying on his wife to prepare meals. But when she was gone, he realized he had no choice but to fend for himself. He reached out to his determined to learn. Arthur turned to YouTube and began watching simple cooking tutorials. His first success was a basic pasta dish, which he proudly shared with his online community. He admitted that it was far from gourmet, but the fact that he had prepared it himself filled him with pride. Over time, his confidence in the kitchen grew. He started experimenting with different recipes and even tried making homemade bread. Now, he frequently cooks for himself, often recreating dishes his wife used to make. He jokingly remarked that she would be surprised, and perhaps even a little impressed, by how much he had learned. What started as a necessity turned into something he genuinely enjoyed, proving to himself that he was far more capable than he had believed. Then there was Joyce, who had never been particularly concerned with home maintenance. She had always relied on others to handle repairs, never needing to learn how to fix things herself. But after moving into a small house on her own, she quickly realized that independence meant taking responsibility for her living space. With the help of online forums and tutorial videos, she learned to unclog a sink, change a light fixture, and even build her own bookshelves. At first, each project felt intimidating, but with each successful repair, her confidence grew. She shared that becoming more self-sufficient had been a steep learning curve, but it gave her an immense sense of pride. She never imagined she would be the one handling repairs around the house, but now she takes joy in knowing she can fix things on her own. She reflected on how empowering it felt to realize that she was stronger and more capable than she had ever given herself credit for. One of the unexpected benefits of living alone is the freedom to indulge in hobbies, both those that have been long forgotten and those that have never been explored. Whether it is picking up an old passion or trying something entirely new, living alone provides the time and space to dive into activities that bring joy and fulfillment. Carol, now in her mid-70s, spoke about how she rediscovered her love for painting after decades of neglecting it. She had not picked up a paintbrush in over 40 years, having abandoned her artistic pursuits to focus on raising a family and building a career. But after retiring and finding herself living alone, she felt a deep longing to reconnect with something creative. Initially, she was hesitant.